differences. Okay, so here there are a lot of differences between the living organisms, and based on the differences and the characteristic features, they have been categorized into various groups. So many scientists have tried to give the classification from the ancient time, but the first person who had given the classification based on some scientific basis, that was Aristotle. So given classification based on scientific basis. The first classification based on scientific base or scientific basis was given by Aristotle, and he had categorized the plants into three groups. Those are trees, shrubs, and herbs. The same way, animals were categorized into two groups. The one which are having red blood and the one without red blood. The one without red blood. So this is the way how he had classified the plants into three groups: trees, shrubs, and herbs, and animals into the animals with red blood and without red blood. But later, one more group of classification was given. Out of other groups, the best one is considered to be the one of the best one at that point of time. Was given by linear scientists. He had given two kingdom classification. That is, he had categorized all the living organisms into two kingdoms. So those two kingdoms are called as animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. Animal kingdom and plant kingdom, or we can call them as Animalia and Plantae. Animalia and Plantae. So here, in this classification, all the animals were kept under Animalia, all the plants are kept under Plantae. But he could not able to differentiate between the prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So some of the prokaryotes have been kept along with the eukaryotes. The same way, some of the unicellular and multicellular are kept along with each other. Unicellular organisms and the multicellular organisms are kept along with each other. In the same way, he could not able to differentiate the photosynthetic from the non-photosynthetic organisms. Photosynthetic means the best example that was considered at that point of time is algae, and non-photosynthetic. That means some of the photosynthetic organisms were kept along with the some of the non-photosynthetic organisms. So this type of deviation was not being absorbed by the scientist. He could not able to differentiate the prokaryotes from eukaryotes, or he kept some of the prokaryotes along with eukaryotes. He included some of the unicellular with the multicellular, and some of the photosynthetic are kept along with the non-photosynthetic organisms. So here, a large number of organisms did not fall into either of the category. So thus, there are some organisms which are neither kept under Animalia nor under Plantae, but they are the living organisms. So because of that one, it does not give the accurate type of classification. Okay. So what is considered for giving the accurate classification means the gross morphology have to be considered for getting better classification. Gross morphology, that means the complete morphological characters have to be considered along with the cell structure of the organisms, nature of cell wall, that is the type of cell wall material present in them, and the mode of type of nutrition or mode of nutrition exhibited by those living organisms, along with the habitat, that is the place where they are surviving, along with the mode of reproduction, the type of reproduction that is performed by those living organisms. So these are the criteria that have to be followed for getting the better system of classification. Okay. So here, later, one more important classification that have to be considered here, it is the Phi Kingdom classification that was given by R.H. Whittaker, scientist. In 1969, he had given a classification that is called as Phi Kingdom Classification. Phi Kingdom Classification. So that means all the living organisms were categorized into 5 kingdoms. So what is the criteria that was followed by the scientists for classifying them into for classifying the living organisms into 5 kingdoms is the criteria that was considered by the scientists is cell wall, cell structure, body organization, reproduction, mode of nutrition, and phylogenetic relationships. That is the evolutionary changes that are taking place in the course of change, course of evolution. So these are the criteria that was followed by the scientists for classification of the plants. Generally, in the NEET examination, they may ask what are the criteria or which of the following are the criteria that are followed by R.H. Whitaker in his 5 kingdom classification. Like that, they may ask the questions, right? So what are the 5 kingdoms into which we have been categorized is Monera, Protista, fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. So what are included under Monera means your unicellular prokaryotic organisms are included under Monera. So this group includes all some plants and also some animals, because irrespective of whether they are plants or animals, if they are unicellular and prokaryotic, they were kept under Monera. And unicellular eukaryotic organisms are kept under Protista. And a separate group of living organisms were considered. Here, actually, initially fungi were considered to be the part of plant kingdom, but later, because of its cell wall nature, why? Because plants have cell wall, which is made up of cellulose, whereas fungi also have the cell wall, but it is not cellulosic. It is made up of a chemical called as chitin. Okay, so these are a special group that have been categorized from separated from Plantae, and all multicellular eukaryotic plants are kept under Plantae. That is the one which are having the cell wall, or cellulosic cell wall to be said. Whereas Animalia includes multicellular eukaryotic animals, the one which does not have the cell wall, are included under Animalia. Likewise, we had categorized all the living organisms into 5 categories. Right here, of course, because of this classification, little more differences have been clearly been observed between the plants. So because of this one, they brought the prokaryotic bacteria and the blue-green algae, that is cyanobacter, with other groups which were eukaryotic in their nature. It also grouped together the unicellular organisms and the multicellular, say for example, Chlamydomonas and Spirogyra, but initially were under the were kept under algae. Likewise, the differentiation between heterotrophic fungi. So here, as I said, that fungi, Plantae are photosynthetic because they can prepare their own food material, but these are heterotrophic in their nature. Heterotrophic, that means they cannot prepare their own food materials. So Plantae, they are autotrophic. Whereas Animalia, these are holozoic in their nutrition. Likewise, we can find some differences here. Okay. So likewise, there's a clear-cut deviation was observed between different groups. Okay. Then all prokaryotic organisms were grouped together under the kingdom called as Monera, and unicellular organisms were kept under the Protista likewise. So because of this one, the kingdom Protista had brought together Chlamydomonas, Chlamydomonas and Chlorella. Actually, initially Chlorella was the part of algae, but now it having come under Protista. In the same way, Paramecium and algae, which were earlier placed in animal kingdom, which lack cell wall, it has put together organisms in the same group. Likewise, the places have been of these living organisms have been changed because of the Phi Kingdom classification. And here, over time, many scientists had tried to give further classification. And here, what are the criteria that were being followed by those scientists are morphological, physiological, and also the reproductive similarities between the living organisms. And along with all this, the phylogenetic, that is evolutionary relationships are also being considered. Phylogenetic or evolutionary relationships were considered for classification of the living organisms. So let us start with the first kingdom, that is called as the characters of first kingdom, that is kingdom Monera. So I will say that kingdom Monera includes unicellular prokaryotic organisms. Okay, then they are the ones which are most abundant microscopic, that is their number is very high. Most abundant microscopic, that means here the number is more, which are microscopic in their nature, microscopic organisms. Okay, and they are elsewhere, they are present. They are present everywhere. They are present everywhere. Then hundreds of bacteria present in a handful of soil. That is, if you take a handful of soil contains some hundreds of bacteria, they are present in extreme habitats. So that extreme habitats means they can survive in a lot of extreme conditions where high temperatures are present. That is present in hot springs where high temperature is present, and also they can present in deserts, and they are present in very low temperature containing conditions like snow, and also they are present in deep oceanic water. Okay, so where other forms cannot survive, and most of them are surviving as parasites. That is, they depend upon the living host, and based on their shape, the bacteria are categorized into 4 types. Those are spherical, which are called as coccus; rod shaped, which are called as bacillus or bacilli, and third one is comma shaped, which are called as vibrio, and the fourth one spiral shape, called as spirillum. That is, they are showing a lot of diversity in their shapes. Okay, and the bacteria structure is very simple. If you come to the structure is very simple, but they show very complex behavior. They are complex in their behavior. Then, compared to other organisms, they show most extensive metabolic diversity. And that is, some of them are autotrophic and some of them are heterotrophic. As we know that autotrophic means they can prepare their own food materials and they contain some chlorophyll-like structures which are concerned with the photosynthesis. Heterotrophic means they depend upon others for the nutrition. In autotrophic also, there are photosynthetic autotrophic and chemosynthetic autotrophic. Photosynthetic autotrophic means they will utilize the light as a source of energy. Chemosynthetic means which will utilize the energy coming from oxidation of chemicals. Okay. Then heterotrophic, they may be either parasitic, they may be either saprophytic, or they may be symbiotic. That's the reason why they are showing a lot of diversity in their metabolism. This is one of the examples to be said. Okay. So parasitic means the one which depend upon the living host for the nutrition. Saprophytic means which they derive the nutrition from the dead and decaying organic matter. Symbiotic means they survive in mutual beneficial association with the other organisms. Okay. So these are the properties regarding the kingdom Monera. And here under this kingdom Monera, the further groups are present. So those are, first one, Archaebacteria. Second one is Eubacteria. Okay. So, and of course, some Mycoplasmas are also there, along with what Cyanobacteria are also been there. So let us start with the first one, Archaebacteria. So Archaebacteria are considered to be the one which are special since they have they can live in harsh habitats. That's what extreme conditions we said, no? Survive in harsh habitats because of their cell wall nature. Generally, in Monera or in the bacteria, they have peptidoglycans as a cell wall material. But here, peptidoglycans are absent in the cell wall. So instead of the peptidoglycans, they contain a substance called as pseudomurines in cell wall. Pseudomurines are the chemicals by which the cell wall is made up of. Okay, and they can survive in harsh conditions or extreme conditions, as I said, no. So some of them are survive in the salty areas. So those are called as halophils. Survive in salty areas. And some of them are surviving in the hot springs. Thermoacidophils we call them as. They survive in the hot springs. And some of them are surviving in the marshy areas. And such are called as methanogens. There is a specialty regarding the methanogens. That means these are the ones which are present in the gut of several ruminant animals, which is helping in the production of methane gas, useful for the production of methane gas. Generally, some of the methanogens are present in the gut of ruminant animals like cow and buffaloes, right? And they are coming out through the defecated material. That is, they are present in the dung of cows and buffaloes. Then this is helping in the production of the methane gas. That methane gas can be used as biogas. That is useful in the production of biogas. And in the biogas, the large proportion is occupied by the methane only. Okay. Then coming to the second group that is called as eubacteria. These are considered to be the real bacteria, true bacteria. And they are characterized by the presence of a rigid cell wall. And this is made up of a chemical called as peptidoglycans. Okay. And they are motile. They will move with the help of flagella which are present on them. The number of flagella may be different from one group to the other group of eubacteria. And in this only, they have one more group that is called as cyanobacteria. These are generally called as blue-green algae. These are generally called as blue-green algae. Right. These blue-green algae have chlorophyll A molecule. They have chlorophyll A, so which are nearly equal as like that of the green plants. Okay. So as they are having the chlorophyll A, these are they can perform photosynthesis. So these are called as photosynthetic autotrophs. Photosynthetic autotrophs. And how they exist means generally these are present in the form of colonies, that is colonial forms. And these are some of them may be okay, when they are unicellular, they are in the colonial forms. Some of them are independent also. Okay, unicellular, either free living or colonial forms. And some of them are multicellular also. When they are multicellular, they may exist in the form of filaments, filamentous. Okay, then these are mostly freshwater. Or some they are present in marine waters also. Very few are terrestrial. Very few are terrestrial in their nature. And when they are present in the colonies, they are surrounded by a sheet. So that sheet is called slippery in nature. So that is called as surrounded by gelatinous sheet. Surrounded by gelatinous sheet. And here they have some special type of, okay, whenever they are present in the gelatinous sheet, so they often form blooms in the polluted water. They often forms blooms in polluted water. Then they have a special property or a special type of cells are present. Those special type of cells are called as heterocysts. So heterocysts are generally, when compared to the normal cells, they have some large sized nature. So those little large sized shaped cells are called as a, like this, they are surrounded by the mucilaginous sheet. These large shaped cells, they are called as heterocyst cells. And what is specialty of these heterocyst cells means they are helping in the nitrogen fixation. Help in nitrogen fixation. Okay, examples for this type of condition, this type of cells are nostoc and anabina. Nostoc and anabina. And at the same time, there are some members of eubacteria which are considered to be chemosynthetic autotrophs. Chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria. So what does they will do means they will perform photosynthesis. That is, they can prepare their own food, not photosynthesis. Okay, exactly as like not like that of photosynthetic autotrophs, but here they can prepare their own food material. That's why autotrophic in the nature, but they will derive the energy from oxidation of inorganic substances. When inorganic substance undergo oxidation, they will release some energy that is useful for preparation of food materials. So, what are the examples for inorganic substances which are undergoing oxidation? Means those are nitrates, that is NO3 minus, nitrites, NO2 minus, and ammonia. And they, of course, they will release the energy in the form of ATP. Okay, so likewise, these are helping in the recycling of elements also. That is, nitrogen is recycled by using this by these bacteria. So these are the one which are useful for recycling of not only for nitrogen but also recycling of phosphorus, iron, and sulfur also. Okay, and at the same time, there are some bacteria which are heterotrophic in their nature. So heterotrophic means which cannot prepare their own food materials, but they depend upon others for the nutrition. Okay, so heterotrophic bacteria, they're abundant in the most, their number is very high. They are most abundant in their nature, and they exist in the form of parasitic bacteria. That is, they depend upon the living host for the food materials, and some of them are decomposers. So decomposers are nothing but the saprophytes. They depend upon dead and decaying organic matter. Okay, and there are some bacteria which are helping in human welfare. So the one which are useful for human welfare also, that is the one, some of the bacteria are useful in the daily household activities. Daily household activities, that is making of curd from milk, that is lactobacillus, which is useful in the making of curd. And in the industry, some of them are useful in the production of antibiotics, and some of them are useful in the nitrogen fixation, like rhizobium. So in legume plants, that is in the Leguminaceae, Fabaceae family members. And at the same time, there are some bacteria which are harmful to the human kind also. So that is, there are some bacteria which are causing diseases in human beings and also in the animals and plants. Right? So those are called as pathogens. So disease causing bacteria. Okay, so like some diseases like cholera, typhoid, tetanus in human beings, and citrus canker in plants are some of the examples of diseases which are caused by the bacteria. And generally, the bacteria will perform a reproduction that is called as binary fission, which is considered to be the most common type of reproduction that is performed by this bacteria. So generally, this will be taking place during favorable conditions, but under unfavorable conditions, they will produce a special type of resting spores. So those special type of resting spores are produced. So those spores are called as endospores. Whenever the favorable conditions are regained, those spores or endospores will produce the normal bacteria. And the sexual reproduction, actually, in the sexual reproduction, there should be a formation of gametes. But here there is no formation of gametes. There is no formation of gametes. But why we are considering it as a sexual reproduction means the reason is transfer of DNA from one bacteria to other bacteria will be taking place. So that is the reason why we consider it as a sexual reproduction. Then some other group of organisms are mycoplasmas. Mycoplasmas are considered to be the smallest and the simplest organisms. Smallest and simplest. Smallest means because their size is very small, right? And their structure is also very simple. That's what we consider as the simplest organisms. And these are the ones which are considered PPLOs, that is P pleuropneumonia-like organisms. Pleuropneumonia-like organisms. Or MLOs, that is mycoplasma-like organisms. Mycoplasma-like organisms. Generally, they lack cell wall. Okay, the specialties, they lack cell wall, and they are the one which will survive without oxygen. They can survive without oxygen also, that is anaerobic in their nature. And these are heterotrophic in their nutrition. Heterotrophic means, as we said, that some of them are saprophytic, or some of them are parasitic in their nature. Then they are disease causing. So when they survive as the parasites, they are pathogenic in their nature. So pathogenic to animals and also to the plants. Okay. And next, coming to the kingdom Protista. The second kingdom, that is called as kingdom Protista. So kingdom Protista includes unicellular eukaryotic organisms. It includes both plants and also the animals. Okay. Then there is no boundary of characteristic features. That is, the characters are not that restricted in this Protista, because it includes photosynthetic protistans and also non-photosynthetic organisms. Okay. It includes different types of groups. Some they consider them as a plants, and some they consider this group as a animals. Why? Because if it is photosynthetic, it is considered as a plant. If it is non-photosynthetic, it is considered as an animal. That's the reason why there is no clear demarcation. And some they have cell wall, some they does not have cell wall, because the plant, unicellular plants which are included under this group, they does not have cell wall. Whereas unicellular plants that have been included under this group, they have the cell wall. The unicellular animals which are included does not have cell wall. Unicellular plants which are included in this group, they have the cell wall. Likewise, a lot of diversity is there. So that is what a clear demarcation, or the characters are not restricted to some or the other point. Okay. And they will produce reproduction. They will perform reproduction by asexual method and also the sexual method. And most of them are aquatic in their nature. Primarily, they are aquatic in their nature, and of course, some of them are growing on the other living organisms or plant body, other plants also, right? And of course, some of them are growing on animals and causing pathogenic in their nature. So it includes different groups like Chrysophytes, Dinoflagellates, Euclinoids, fly molds, and Protozoans. Let us start with the first one, Chrysophytes. So chrysophytes are the one which includes diatoms, and these are called as golden algae. Desmids. Okay, and they are found in fresh water. These are fresh water, and very few are marine water. Mostly they are fresh water, but very rarely or very few number are marine water. Then these are microscopic, and they are floating on the water surface. So that is what we call as passive, or floating passively on the water. Which are generally considered as planktonic in their nature. Planktonic, microscopic plants are called as planktons, right? And majority of this group of chrysophytes are able to prepare their own food materials. That's why these are photosynthetic in their nature. These are photosynthetic. Then they have a cell wall which is impregnated with silica, impregnated with a chemical called as silica. And because of this silica, the cell walls are indestructible. Cell wall is indestructible because of the silica. And here they have the cell wall, if you observe, it have two thin overlapping shells. Two thin overlapping shells are present. So they are appear to be like this. They are organized like this. And this entire structure appears to be like a soap box. So the one is bigger, one is smaller. The bigger one is called as epitheca, and the smaller one is called as a hypotheca. The lower one is called as hypotheca, upper one is called as a epitheca. And this type of overlapping, which appears to be like a soap box like structure. The structure appears to be like a soap box. Okay, and here these are the one which deposit the cell wall material in the place wherever it is present. That is, they left behind large amount of cell wall material wherever it is present in their habitat. Large amount of cell wall material in the habitat, in their habitats. So it forms like a coral-like structure that accumulation will take place for about some billions of years, and that is forming into a structure called as diatomite. That accumulated part below the water is called as diatomite or diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth. And this is generally gritty in its nature. Gritty in its nature. And because of this gritty nature, it is used in polishing and filtration of oils and syrups. And as I said that they are photosynthetic nature. So these are considered to be the chief producers in the oceans. Chief producers in the ocean. And here they will perform reproduction, and the most common type of reproduction that they are performing is binary fission. So in the binary fission, the epitheca part and hypotheca part, both of them are separated, and both of them will secrete the other half. Most common type of reproduction is by binary fission. Then apart from that one, they also produce reproduction by some special type of structures. Those are called as rejuvenating or rejuvenescent cells. Okay, these rejuvenescent cells are called as oxospores. These are called as oxospores. And here, based on the symmetry, these chrysophytes are categorized into two types. One is called as pennials and other is called as centrales. So pennials are the one which show bilateral symmetry, whereas centrales are the one which will show radial symmetry. Okay. Then coming to the next one, dinoflagellates. Dinoflagellates are the one which are mostly marine and rarely freshwater. And of course, these are also photosynthetic in their nature. Right? And they appear in different colors. So depending upon the type of pigment or nature of the pigment, they appear either yellow, green, brown, blue, or red in color. So the reason for this one is depending upon the main pigment present in their cells. Due to main pigment which is present in the cells, they may acquire different colors. Generally, if you observe the cell wall is made up of stiff cellulosic plates. That is specialty of this one, stiff cellulosic plates. And here, they have two flagella in them. So if you observe the structure, this is a diagram of a goniolox. Okay, so it have two flagellas. One flagella will be horizontal and one flagella will be vertical, like this. So horizontal flagella and the vertical flagella, two flagella are present. One is horizontally placed and one is transversely placed. So because of these two flagella, the dinoflagella will show the spiral type of movements. That is what we call it as the spinning movements. Because of this one, it is showing the spinning movements. And because of this spinning movement, these dinoflagellates are called as whirling whips. Whirling whips. Because of the spinning movement exhibited by, because of the spinning movement which is exhibited by the horizontal and lateral flagella, these diatoms are called as whirling whips. Then there are some members of dinoflagellates which undergo rapid multiplication, which undergo rapid multiplication, and because of this rapid multiplication, they make the C appears to be red in color. C appears to be red color, right? So such type of character is called as red tides. So example for this one is goniolochs. The diagram that had drawn that earlier page, right? And one more important thing is they release toxic materials or toxins or poisonous materials are released by these dinoflagellates. Because of these toxic materials, the aquatic animals like fishes are killed. Right? And some of them having bioluminescence property also. That is Noctiluca. Noctiluca is the one which is showing this type of bioluminescence property. Then, apart from this one, they show one more important property, that is mesokaryon. Mesokaryon will be there. So, mesokaryon is the one where histone proteins are absent. Okay. So these are some of the important properties which are exhibited by the dinoflagellates. Then coming to euclinoids. So euclinoids are mostly freshwater. They are mostly freshwater and they are present in stagnant waters. They are present in the stagnant water. Generally, they does not have the cell wall, but in place of cell wall, they have some protein-rich layer. This protein-rich layer that is present here, it is called as a pellicle. Okay, and because of the pellicle, it is flexible in this nature. And they have two flagellas. It have anterior side and also the posterior side. On the anterior side, it will produce two flagellas. One flagella is small and one is bigger in size. Okay, one short and one long flagella are present. So they are coming from out through the anterior side. They're coming out through the anterior side. Then these flagella will have, sorry, this euglia will have the mouth that is called as cytostome on the anterior side, and this mouth leads into some tube-like structure. This one. This is cytostome. This is a tube-like structure. Okay. This is cytostome and this is a tube-like structure. So this tube-like structure is called as a gullet or cytopharynx. Gullet or cytopharynx. And of course, it have an photoreceptive structure on its anterior side in the cytoplasmic content. This photoreceptive organ is called as a photosensitive organ, that is called as stigma. Okay, or we can call it as a eye spot also. Called as eye spot. And they have, as it is called, as they are photosynthetic in their nature, they contains chromatophores, which are equal to the chloroplasts which are present in the higher organisms, like this, which are helping in the photosynthesis. A membrane structures are present called as a chromatophores because of the chromatophores, and they have chlorophyll pigments also, right? And whenever the light is not available, that is deprived of sunlight, they behave like heterotrophs. When deprived of sunlight. Okay, then these are the one which are identical to the higher plants because of this photosynthetic nature. And whenever unfavorable conditions are there, they will lose the flagella, and they are converted into non-motile structures called as palmella stage. Okay, that is formed during unfavorable conditions. And during favorable conditions, it will be undergoing binary fission. So particularly the type of reproduction that is performed by them is longitudinal binary fission. Then coming to the next one, that is the slime molds. Slime molds are generally called as saprophytic protists, or saprophytic in their nature, and they move along decaying twigs. That is saprophytic. Decaying means dead and decaying organic materials. So decaying twigs and leaves, decaying twigs and leaves, engulfing the or eating or taking up the organic materials from the dead and decaying plants and animals. That's what they are called as saprophytic in their nature. But under suitable conditions, they form aggregations called as plasmodium. A plasmodium is a structure that is formed during the favorable conditions or suitable conditions, which may grow and spread over several feet. Right? But during unfavorable conditions, the plasmodium will be differentiated. This is under favorable conditions. But under unfavorable conditions, the site of the plasmodium will differentiate. And they forms into fruiting bodies. Those fruiting bodies are called as basidiospores, right? So they will be bearing the basidiocarp, and they will be bearing the spores called as basidiospores, and like this, they appears to be like this. These basidiospores are generally surrounded by the true cell wall, like this. So these are the basidiospores, and covered with the true cell walls are present around them. Okay, and these are the structures called as fruiting bodies, and bearing the spores-like structures at their tips. And they are extremely resistant and survive for many years, even under the adverse conditions. Okay, and the spores which have been formed here, these spores are dispersed with the help of air currents. And whenever they will fall on the suitable substratum, they start germinating and give rise to the new slime molds. And coming to the last group of protistans, those are protozoans. So protozoans are considered to be predators or heterotrophic in their nature, or they are parasitic in their nature. These are heterotrophic or parasitic. They are predators on animals. Predators on the animals. So they believe to be the primitive relatives of animals. And there are 4 major groups of protozoans are there, starting with the amoeboid protozoans. Amoeboid protozoans. So these protozoans generally, they live in fresh water, seawater, or they may grow on the moist soil also. Moist soil also. And they have a special structures called as pseudopodia. So these pseudopodia called as false feet. Okay, they will help in movement and also capturing of prey. Okay, then marine forms are also there. In the marine forms, they have silica shells. The best examples of these are entamoeba. Right? And the second group are called as the flagellated protozoans. Flagellated protozoans. In the name itself, it is very much clear that they have flagella locomotory structures. Okay, and they may be either free living or parasitic on other animals. Okay, they have flagella. Then they cause some diseases in the human beings, like sleeping sickness. So this is caused by an flagellated protozoan called as trypanosoma. And these members will perform binary fission. The most common method of reproduction. Binary fission. And of course, these are some of them are surviving as symbionts also. Then coming to the next one, ciliated protozoans. That is, they contain tufts of flagella. Okay, and these are aquatic in the nature, mostly moving with the help of thousands of cilia. These are aquatic and actively moving because of presence of thousands of cilia on their body. And here example is Paramecium, which is called as a slipper animalcule. So this is the structure of Paramecium, right? In this, they have a cavity called as gullet that opens to the outside of the cell surface. And here, the entire body here in this Paramecium, the entire body is surrounded by the flagella, right? And these thousands of flagella which are present on the surface, they will show coordinate movement. coordinated movement of rows of cilia that will cause the water laden with food materials to enter into the bullet. Cilia causes the water laden with food into the bullet. Okay, and so the examples for this one is, as said, Paramecium. Then coming to the Sporozoans. Sporozoans are considered to be pathogenic in their nature. They are the diverse organisms which are infectious. Okay, these are pathogenic, that is disease causing, and they have some infectious stage. So that infectious spore-like stage is called as sporozoites. Sporozoites, and this plasmodium is causing a disease in human beings that is called as malaria. So that's why it is called as malarial parasite. That is plasmodium. Malarial parasite. And it is showing a staggering effect on the human population. Then they are growing as endoparasites. Why it is called as endoparasite means they are growing inside the body of the host, right? And they does not have the locomotory organs. Locomotory organs are absent in them. So these are the four groups of protozoans: amoeboid protozoans, flagellated protozoans, ciliated protozoans, and the sporozoans. Okay, and let us discuss about the other kingdoms, that is kingdom fungi, plantae, and animalia in the other class.